What's up, everybody? For any first-time viewers out there, my name is Hi, and this is my YouTube channel, High Speed One. I post sim racing content purely as a hobby. I stream iRacing on YouTube and Twitch, and occasionally I post a longer format video that talks about something I'm doing in the sim racing context, or anything at all regarding my setup or a race or anything like that. And today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I want to gear this towards a specific audience, and my goal with this video is to speak directly to the people out there that were like me 6 months ago and maybe are completely new to sim racing. Maybe you're looking for a new hobby, maybe you're thinking about getting into sim racing, or maybe you want to buy a rig, or maybe you're considering one from Podium 1. So if any of you out there fit that description, this video is for you. I want to start by talking about what makes sim racing special to me and what attracted me to it in the first place. And it seemed to have a huge community that was really enthusiastic about whatever kind of racing you wanted to get into. You've got, road racing, open wheel, GT3, you got Mazda Miatas, prototypes, Formula One. You got short races, anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes, all the way up to 45 minutes to an hour races, and those are available every night. You've even got races that are as long as 12 hours or even the 24 hours of Daytona and things like that available through the special events. So essentially there seems to be something for everyone that's into racing in any form, and having all of this in an ultra realistic driving model like iRacing and kind of the technology that goes into some of these sim rigs like this one from Podium 1 is really cool to have in the comfort of your own home, or in my case, in your garage. This is my garage right now. So a lot of these things really stood out to me when thinking about getting into sim racing, and when doing my initial research, sim racing seemed to be a great hobby for someone like me. I have not much of a background in racing, but I've always had a passion for cars. And I've done some, recreational, track driving, like track experiences and things like that. So, I never had a huge racing background, so to say, but, I've always been really into cars. And so this seemed like a really good opportunity for me to kind of get into cars and, not as crazy of a way of, say buying like a sports car or, a weekend kind of weekend driver, but, still kind of scratching that itch of having something really cool. So let's talk about cost. All hobbies, or most hobbies at least, have some sort of cost associated with them. And nothing in this world, especially today, is free. And sim racing may not be something worth investing in for some, and I completely understand that. These things, vary pretty widely in price, and you can kind of pay whatever you want for them. On the low end of the spectrum, between $5,000 and $10,000 for a triple setup, all the way up to $60,000, $70,000 and beyond for some of the crazy stuff that you're seeing out there on the internet. To be honest, this one falls somewhere in the middle there. But it is an incredible rig, and full disclosure, I get nothing for this video. I have no obligation or expectation to say anything nice about Podium 1. I'm a free consumer just like you, and I decided to take the plunge and buy something really cool that I've ended up being very happy with, which we'll get into. So without further ado, let's talk about the rig itself. A lot of this can be found on Podium 1's website, but I did change a few things through the build process and afterwards, and I'll talk about that a little bit as I go through this. But overall, the rig is a P1 turnkey racing simulator from Podium 1. They're local to me here in the Middle Tennessee area. And everything they do is absolutely incredible. It's called Turnkey for a reason. That's not just a saying. It really comes out of the box, ready to rock. For even someone like me who's not very technically sound or savvy as far as making all these things work. There's a few different programs that go with it that all come ready to go and ready to rock as soon as you get it out of the box, or it's delivered if you're local. The cable management is huge. I mean, this thing came almost without a cable in sight. Everything's really nice and tucked in into these grooves that are built into this chassis, and then up through underneath to the back connection where the USB hub and all that good stuff is. So you really can't see, hardly any wires except for some of the stuff that I've added on that I clearly don't do as good a job as they do at cable management. But, cable management is huge, and that's something that I know they pride themselves on and I appreciate as a consumer. The software all comes pre-installed, everything from iRacing, Assetto Corsa, everything that you need to pretty much run most of the programs that a lot of people use for those, like Trading Paints, Crew Chief, things like that. So, it really does come ready to go. And even the labels, the cables are not only, very well managed and concealed, but they're also labeled, so you know exactly which cable is what and what's connected where, which is a little touch that I think goes a long way. And overall, it's just a really well presented setup. It looks good, it feels good, and when you're touching everything, you can tell everything's really tight and, in order, and it seems to be built to last. So the monitors are triple LG 48-inch Ultragears, which are absolutely stunning, both in how the picture looks and how the hardware looks. The monitor's super, super thin. It's like a paper plate thin, which is kind of something you have to be careful with if you're going to be taking these monitors on or off for any reason, or if you're moving it, which I'm going to be doing in a little bit, which I'll talk about a little bit later in the video. But the monitors are stunning. And one quick side note on this, like if you're racing at night in iRacing and you have cars coming up behind you, these monitors are OLEDs, and I'm in here in my garage, and if I have cars behind me in the simulator, it's so realistic looking if it's dark in here that I'm truly looking behind me because I think that somebody is pulling up in my driveway behind me. It's just this really cool effect that you can't really explain unless you're sitting in front of it looking at it, but the monitors look really cool and are really immersive. The wheelbase itself is an Asetek Invicta 27 Newton meter direct drive. No complaints whatsoever. It seems to have all the force and then some that you will ever need. I have this turned up to max in the software for Asetek, but in iRacing, I never have it turned up beyond like 12 or 13. I think right now I'm running at about 12 and a half. So for 27 Newton meters is obviously a lot more than anybody needs or that most people need. It's really in the fine details that I think this thing really shows its strengths. So the wheelbase, no complaints whatsoever. It seems to be awesome. And it's got these lights on the side, which you can change color and kind of match to whatever theme you're going for on the rig. So very cool. Next up, let's talk about DBox. All right, so rather than talk about the DBox, I figured it'd be kind of cool to jump in the sim and get on Sebring in the Porsche GT3R and give it a rip. Enough talking, let's get on track. So right off the bat, the DBox, just for those of you who may not know, is the motion system. So the DBox is essentially 4 actuators, 1 on each corner of the rig. It's capable of producing up to a G of force. It's a very powerful system and it's very precise. You can feel everything from the curbs, like I'm gonna hit this curb, even though that may have looked subtle, and I could feel the dirt here, kind of went off track, and a black flag. But anyway, it's essentially very detailed. So it's more than just the rocking around, it's the motion, it's the vibrations, like I can feel that, we can hit the curb. It's just a really overall cool and very immersive experience. So coming into this straight here, you can really feel the body roll side to side in the car through that section. All right, into turn 17 here. I totally blew it, shot it wide. See if we can get it back. But man, it is bumpy, and I chose this track for a reason because you can really feel that translate through in the system. And there's a mentality out there of kind of less is more with the settings of this thing. And I kind of disagree with that. I feel like if you're paying for it, you might as well turn it up to where you can feel it and have some fun with it. And, I've had a blast with it, so. Let's hit the curb. Oh, we hit it. And we hit another one. It's too much fun. So yeah, the DBox is definitely a really cool feature. And it can really take your sim racing experience to the next level. So definitely a thumbs up here. So for the pedals, I've got Heusinkveld, Throttle and Clutch, the Ultimate Plus, I believe, with the Simicube active pedal as the brake. And it seems to be a great kind of 3-pedal combo with the mix of the two. I decided to up to the brake during the build process, so I think the P1 does not come with the active pedal, but I did decide to opt for that while Podium 1 was building the sim. It was pretty new at the time when I ordered it, and thought it was a pretty cool piece of technology that I think is truly, fascinating to feel that, ABS effect in the brake pedal. Really pushes that back against your foot like that as you're driving in real time is just super cool. It's a very, very awesome feature of this sim. As far as wheels go, the one that came from Podium 1 was the Asetek Formula. I ended up buying another Formula wheel, the Gomez Sim Industry X29, which is absolutely awesome. It's my go-to. It's got everything you need and nothing you don't. It's super clean and doesn't have any, bells and whistles other than just being really well built. It feels real. It doesn't feel like a toy. So yeah, the GSI X29 has been my go-to on this setup. The shifter, I have not used this a lot, so I really can't speak to my opinion on it one way or the other, but it looks absolutely awesome. It feels super real. I've driven a bunch of manual cars in real life. It definitely feels like the real deal. It feels like a nice kind of short throw, 6-speed gearbox. So yeah, it's awesome, and it comes with the P1 rig from Podium 1. The seat, I really have no complaints whatsoever. It's the Recaro SimStar. It's super nice. It looks real. It looks like the real deal. There's even a little sticker on the side of it that says very clearly that this is not for road racing or for real driving, that this is a sim seat. That's how convincing it looks. So it looks awesome. Recaro makes some pretty incredible seats, and that translates over into their simulator offering. The wind kit also is something that I added in the build process, which was a great little upgrade to, not only kind of trick your mind into thinking that you're going fast, even though you're just, in the garage or inside, but it's good to keep cool. I mean, it could be pretty grueling when you're, 30 or 40 minutes into a pretty intense race that you're wheel to wheel with somebody the whole time, and having that little breeze that kind of kicks in as you go faster can be pretty helpful as far as keeping you comfortable. The PC is pretty beastly. It's an i9 13th gen. It's a 4090 with 32 gigs of RAM. And I'm pushing iRacing at max settings in 4K on these triple 48-inch monitors, all while running Trading Paints, SimHub, Crew Chief, Discord, Spotify, Race Labs, and the software that runs the WinKit, plus OBS, which I'm pushing a stream at 1080p at 60 frames per second. And, I tend to get around 70 to 90 frames per second, which I'm pretty happy with overall, considering how much this one PC setup is doing. So pretty impressive as far as the performance of the PC. So let's talk about what I changed. And I'm going to back up to the very beginning of the build process when I ordered this thing. I originally ordered their P2, which is kind of a scaled down version of this with slightly smaller monitors. It's triple 32s because my original intention was to put this simulator in my bonus room in a corner kind of behind this couch that we have. And, I was restricted on space. And so the more I thought about it, I just knew that area wasn't going to be a good long-term solution for where I wanted this thing to go. And so that's when I decided, why don't we just transform the entire garage into a simulator room? So we began the journey of, making sure that this thing had air conditioning in here, getting a mini split installed. And at that point, space wasn't really a concern. And so we decided to go all out and get the P1, which has the bigger monitors, and it's 9 feet wide, and just an absolutely stunning, presentation when you look at this thing from a distance. So yeah, they changed from the P2 to the P1, which comes with a lot of other goodies. I added the active pedal from Simicube, and I added the wind kit. So that's kind of the summary of this rig. Now, since I've had it and after Podium 1 delivered it, I have changed a couple things. I changed to this keyboard. I know that they send it with a much smaller kind of handheld keyboard. I'm not sure what that thing's called, and I don't think I have it anymore. but that's just a personal preference thing. I like the bigger keyboard that has the trackpad on here. I did add a USB hub because it does come pretty tapped out as far as ports go. They only have maybe 2 or 3 ports to go, and that really wouldn't be an issue, I think, for most people, unless you start to add things like webcams or microphones or lights or whatever you got going on, like for a streaming setup like I have. So again, probably a non-issue for those out there that aren't going to be doing things like streaming or running OBS or things like that while running the sim. And I also added these caps for the throttle and the brake because I was trying to, match an all black pedal cap theme, but then I realized I forgot to get one for the throttle. So we're still missing one cap for the throttle, but I did end up with a little bit bigger contact patch for the brake pad, which is kind of nice. So let's talk a little bit about how I've used this thing. And as I mentioned at the beginning, I was looking for a new hobby when I was considering buying this thing. I'm not a professional race car driver. I'm not trying to use this for training. This was purely something that I was looking to get into for fun, as a way to kind of get out here a few times a week and spend some time on track. So I will go ahead and say that this is everything I've hoped it would be and then some. I'm out here 3 times a week, usually Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays if my schedule holds up. And I started out grinding the official races to just get to the A license. In order, I started with the MX-5, Toyota GR86, and then Ferrari GT3, Porsche Cup, VRS GT3 series, and last but not least, the IMSA multi-class series. And I had a blast with all of these. This was all a really fun kind of journey to get to the A license. I think it took me about 6 weeks. Just kind of took my time with it and just had some fun and just, learned. And then through a few of my friends, I was introduced to the special events calendar that iRacing puts on, which is basically virtual versions of real life racing events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, the 12 Hours of Bathurst, which came in 3rd just recently. The 12 Hours of Sebring, which is coming up here in about 3 or 4 days as of the time of me recording this video. And even oval special events like the Bristol 500. I think that was recently also, and that looked like a lot of fun. Bristol is a home track of mine in the state of Tennessee, so I've been to a race there. Really cool. And there's so much more in that special events calendar that really kind of fill up, the entire year. Every month there's at least a couple races that go on that are much longer, either endurance races or, team races for the most part. So at the end of the day, I say all of this to reiterate 2 points. First being is that there's something in this for everybody, from oval to road racing to open wheel, Formula One down to Mazda MX-5. I mean, this thing's got it all. You could pretty much do any kind of racing you want to on this thing. And second is that I have had an absolute blast with every single one of those classes that I've raced and beyond. This is truly the best money that I've spent in a really long time. It's such a fun hobby, and hobbies can be kind of hard to find for someone like me. I'm 31 years old. I've got 2 toddlers with a 3rd on the way. I've got a full-time job and not a ton of free time. So this is kind of a perfect, maybe 2 or 3 times a week at night kind of thing where you can come out here after the kids go to bed and just spend some time and just get absolutely crazy in a wild, wheel-to-wheel race or, practice for the next endurance race. In conclusion of this kind of semi-review here of this rig from Podium 1, it's absolutely incredible. The turnkey aspect of what they do is really, as advertised. If I could go back and do it all over again, I would do it exactly the same. I don't think I'd change a thing. I think this setup is kind of perfect for me. So, if you're looking for a new hobby, I would suggest you look into sim racing and consider sim racing. My goal with this channel is to not only make it, a regular hobby, but is to become a member of the community and ultimately help grow the community of sim racing. I think it's been really great for me, and I'd love to kind of put some content out there that helps maybe some other people out there make the decision to get into it and give it a try. So let me know down in the comments what sim racing has been like for you, whether you're completely new to sim racing like me, or you're a veteran that's been doing this, for 5 or 10 years. I'd love to hear what, the community's thoughts are as far as, what sim racing has done for them, as far as, being a hobby, or maybe it's a great training tool. Let me know your thoughts. Cheers, y'all. Good luck out there in the sim racing world, and we'll see you next time.